Hello everyone and welcome to another video. How's everyone doing and how was your weekend? I hope that everyone had fun and enjoyed their 2-day escape from the relentless week of work and slavery. Well, today I decided to start on bot side, whatever the situation that happens in this game. I am facing a Kha'Zix, and my team decided to fight in an awkward position, and we lost one of our most useful allies, the useless Sona support. Since there is a chance that Kha'Zix is starting at my red buff, I decided to do the same. This start is still inscribed in our strategy. The idea is that you will start with the enemy jungle, then do your blue buff, and right after the blue buff, you do the red buff and vice versa so that you will have 3 buffs going on you, unless the enemy jungle decided to do your red buff. The bad thing about the bot lane is that Ezreal is taking exhaust, and Sona is a weird champion to play with. It's like the older version of Yuumi. You can't rely on her to do damage, yet she can sustain and help you stay alive. On the other hand, we have a Poppy support with Hail of Blades. The idea is that we are going to wait until we bait her. Then we get to jump her every time that we are ganking or trying to gank the bot side. So this is a counter gank type of gank, and hopefully this will work as our strategy to win the game. Overall in this season, you should start your bot side if the ADC is crit or heavy crit damage champion. Ezreal, on the other hand, is a poke champion. In this particular game we have Gnar that is winning in his lane, mid also is winning, so the only one thing that is left for me to do is either power farm or babysit the bot side, and I decided to help them get ahead. And hopefully that should be enough to turn them into independent, strong members of society. After our successful gank, my bot side started getting ahead, and that is good for us. Now the issue is that I need to spot Kha'Zix because it seems that he's been avoiding me since the start of the game. Sadly, whenever I gank, the fight goes too long and I don't get an assist. As they say, there is an exception for every rule, and the rule of this game is that I really want to help the bot side. And I did help them. But any further against a Shen around the dragon will be counterproductive. What do you think a Shen player would do? A Shen player will play passively if he doesn't feel like winning the lane, and aggressively if he is sure he can outdamage the enemy top laner. More importantly, he'll play in a way to use his ultimate for the bot side. Sadly, Shen can't self-ultimate. Hence, whenever we kill Shen, my bot side has a better chance at winning the 2v2 or even the 2v3. So I decided to camp Shen only until we get the Herald buff. And it was a great success. Now, as you can see, the game is hugely in our favor. And even Sona left Ezreal by himself and decided to join us for a better redistribution of resources on the top side. Mid, on the other hand, it was Lux against Taliyah. And let me tell you one thing. When you have 2 champions that throw stuff at each other, it's better that you stay out of it because they are insulting each other with spells, and you should never bring a gun to a sword fight. So let them kill each other and we focus on what we do best. Camping melee champions. Now let's talk about our build. I decided to try out Conqueror instead of press the attack, and let me tell you why. Volibear in pro play and solo queue in the higher tiers and higher elo is often played with Sunderer Sky. Before that, the bear was mainly used with the Frozen Gauntlet. The idea is that press the attack is very useful in the later stages of the game. You get very tanky. You jump on high-value targets, then you proc press the attack on them while sustaining the damage, and the enemy focuses on the targets that you are biting. Hence, Volibear is a straightforward champion, which is why it is suggested to be played by new players who wish to learn jungle or topside. But since there have been a lot of changes, the meta shifted around Divine Sunderer, and that build is good. The only issue with this build is that it is boring. You become predictable, and over time, players will get used to your playstyle. Hence, I decided to go for Conqueror, and I rushed an offensive off-tank item. In this game, it was Hullbreaker. This item is very good on Volibear. It gives everything you need except for ability haste, and it is easy to proc its passive against champions and monsters. The only issue is that it is a bit expensive, but it gives you the necessary damage to be a threat so that the enemy team shifts their focus towards you. The only issue I have found with this setup is that it is very hard to proc Conqueror as fast as other champions do. Hence, I will go and test it for more games, and I'll decide later whether to keep it or switch back to press the attack, since it has shown to still be viable with AD Bruiser Volibear. But everyone will know how you will proceed, and that will make you very predictable and impact your playstyle very badly, because once you use all resources, you'll be a sitting duck with just a bit of AD and HP and you end up 6 feet under. In this game, building defensive stats or going full tank will make you a bad player in the longer term. And let me tell you why. It dulls your senses, convincing yourself that it's okay to take damage. But the idea is that you should dodge anything that can be dodged and let the enemy waste their damage on you. In this game, it was a bit difficult because the meta is still around Flash and Ghost on ADCs. The enemy team had a Lux, and I think Janna and Lux are hard counters for Volibear. I remember there was a time when Volibear was played mainly by stacking HP, possibly around Season 3 or 4, when it was hard to get damage in the early stages of the game, but easy to get health, and that was effective. But now the game has a lot of mobility, a lot of damage, and not much tenacity and early game tank items. Hence, it is better to also go for damage and practice your dodging skills. Even though we are ahead in kills, the enemy team still had the edge on us. They have the better opening and the better disengagement. We, on the other hand, have a poke team, which is why we should play at a slow tempo, allowing our carries to do some damage before letting the enemy engage on us. Luckily, it seems that Kha'Zix overestimated his damage and ended up going on Talia, while she had her summoner spells. Since I was playing very closely with our mid laner, who was the MVP of this game, we ended up killing Kha'Zix and wrapping up this game. That was an enjoyable experience nevertheless, and I ended up testing out my build the way I wanted it to go. The second game, we had a very weird dynamic. Based on my humble experience, I found out that playing Volibear against tanks is very rewarding, and if the enemy team doesn't have a tank, it means they have more damage. This game we had 3 catastrophic champions to face: Riven, Akali, and Briar. For Briar, I think if I go AP, I win without a problem, but there is a trap when going AP. Against Akali, you end up losing your stacks on Riftmaker. Against Riven, you can't catch her to keep the fight going. This game will be a reminder that Riven is not a balanced champion. To be honest with you guys, Riven should be removed from the game along with Irelia and maybe Yasuo. I think Yone is a better replacement for Yasuo, and for Riven, Aatrox is a much better top laner. For Irelia, there is Katarina because these champions are no-brain champions. It's hard for me to see any skill in a champion that has spammable brain cell killing abilities. Here's a simple aspect. For example, in this game you will witness that even if you are super fed, one champion building random items against a composition will most likely win. I remember there was a video with BoxBox saying that Riven is a high-skill cap champion, where you need to use your auto-attacks between casts. But the truth is, it doesn't matter if you do or do not because the champion does too much damage, has a lot of mobility, and has a self-shield. I don't know if I'm the only one having a problem understanding this concept. If this champion was in another game against bots or in an action hack-and-slash game, it would be great. But in this game, you are required to have a little bit of mental ability to think and play. Going in with a no-brain champion and spamming your abilities is not fun to play against. You would assume that you simply need to wait for that champion to use their resources, and then you can counter them. Well, shocker. The moment Riven uses her dash, she can dash again with her Q. There was an article somewhere, I don't remember where, stating that Riven spamming her abilities is faster than someone having tier 1 boots. So good luck catching that. My rant might seem like an overreaction, but don't let the score fool you. We are even in this game. It might seem that we are winning every skirmish and getting a lot of resources and gold, but you'll notice that all these skirmishes happened on the other side of the map where Riven isn't. Our top laner is basically someone that bought his account from eBay, so we are racing against time to end the game before we end up fighting against Riven. Thankfully, I have a good Orianna and a reliable Shaco, but I'll be very honest with you. No one in this game can win against Riven. I think Riven can even perhaps win against 3 champions at once. At this point, the player is still doubting whether they should make those plays or not. Is it bannable or reportable? Based on the last fights, Riven always went in while still having her resources, so I decided to play a hide-and-seek game and avoid Riven at any cost. You can also notice that their bot side is basically in a coma, playing with their feet, similarly to Briar. Hence, the only viable player on their team is Riven, but a player that is not ahead is basically almost even with our mid laner, and he is by himself holding the game together. The game went as follows. We would leave Riven with Camille, knowing that she will lose against Riven, and we would try to even out our losses. It might seem that we are winning, but actually, we are simply trading losses with the enemy team. Regarding our build in this game, I went for Divine Sunderer because I didn't see any room for experiments, and I kept Conqueror because I wanted to see if it was possible to stack Conqueror against this composition, as in the previous game. Sadly, against a high mobility team or a heavy CC team, it is hard to stack Conqueror and even harder to reach it in the middle of the fight. Hence, I will start avoiding this rune against such compositions. However, since I'm starting with a different approach, and that is to practice my dodging skills even against heavy CC teams, I went and built the Sterix Gauge. That item is similar to Volibear's old passive in the form of a shield. It's kind of cool. It reminisces the old version of the champion and gives you the necessary damage and survivability to be even stronger in the mid-game while having some form of defensive stats. In this game, our core squad was mainly around me, Orianna, and Shaco, with a bit of a lost Camille. We tried to make it work with the three of us. At first it was easy, but as the game went on and everyone got their core items, it became hard to kill anyone and push our lead further. At the start of the game, I knew there would be a moment where Riven would either ace us or get a pentakill, anything remotely showcasing that champion's broken mechanics. I hate the word mechanics. Let's just say her way of pressing buttons. I was hoping that Camille would grow into a more reliable player during the mid-game and teleport strategically to trap the enemy team and help us win. Sadly, that player only used teleport 2 times, and the second one was very bad. Hence, we could not rely on that champion to do anything helpful in the late stages of the game. Now, the moment of truth. We ended up facing Riven in the Baron Pit. This is something I saw from a mile away. The Shaco did a great play by sending his clone to absorb Briar ultimate, but even with that, Riven mauled us down like where we're bots, and she was the main character of a shonen manga with no logic and the power of the writer. I'm sure that someone in Riot is watching Riven gameplay and telling to himself, "Damn, this champion needs a buff." Well, buddy, I won't feel sorry for you if I hear that you suffer from hemorrhoids, and to be honest, you deserve it. After that death, the enemy team started seeing hope, and that hope was in the form of stalling the game until Riven was able to kill us all and end the game. On our end, we were ahead, but now we are losing, even though we got the Baron buff. Now let me tell you something about why I love this game. The main reason is that anything is possible. It doesn't matter if you are winning or losing, and no matter what your elo is, there will be a point where the game can completely shift in favor of the other team. In this particular situation, the enemy team was seeing hope and building their confidence. Their carry, the one holding the game and stalling it for 30 minutes, made one tiny mistake, and we were waiting for that exact moment. Luckily, the 3 players who were trying the hardest on our team were there at the right moment. Hence, we managed to kill their only viable member, and we did it, ladies and gentlemen. We are witnessing the last play of this game. Regardless of what happened, I was planning to build Guardian Angel and Zhonya's because in my mind my goal was to tilt Riven, and those 2 items would guarantee that Riven would have a harder time killing me, giving my team a chance to kill her and win the game. My dear viewers, our time together has come to an end. Make sure to hit the like button and leave me a comment about your experience with Volibear. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. As always, I hope you have a good start to the weekend. Until the next one, take care and peace.